All right, so lately you've probably heard that the government is taking a big chainsaw to government agencies and cutting workers and cutting employees. Well, not to be political at all, but that is the latest that we've seen where big companies, corporations, and the government are cutting back. And when they cut back, a lot of those cutbacks are going to affect people who are fixing to retire or who have been in the retirement mode. Now, one of the huge benefits to working for the government is the health benefits and the retirement benefits if you stay with them long enough. Now, granted, a lot of these jobs that are being lost are probably people who are not fully vested in the retirement plans and all the health care and all that kind of stuff. But still, I'm sure there's quite a few of them that are getting caught up in that net. So let's stop and think, if you're 60 plus years old and you were planning to retire at 67 and all of a sudden your job went away, where would you be at? Would you be able to, go ahead and find another job that would sustain that? Probably not. It's pretty tough to find those good paying jobs when you're 60 years and older. So what ends up happening to a lot of these folks who, were planning on retiring in the next 3, 5, or 7 years and they lose their job, they end up having to retire early or take a partial retirement, use their retirement savings, go ahead and start drawing Social Security to make up that income gap, and they have what's called a bridge retirement where they're still having to work, part-time or something like that, and go ahead and draw some of their retirement funds. Because when you reach that point in your life, those are normally the years where you're going to make the most money you've ever made. And, replacing that kind of income is hard when you have to move jobs and start somewhere else. People just are not going to pay you what that old company had been paying you. And the other part of that, although you may bring all those years of experience and everything else, if you don't think that ageism is alive and well in the United States, you better take a different look, because ageism is alive and well. And a lot of people are getting caught up in the private sector outside of what we've been talking about with the government, are getting caught up in ageism and, maybe not being laid off, but being pushed out. And that's kind of what happened to me. They did it in a very nice manner. I do not blame them, but they had people who were going to leave the company if positions weren't made available to them. So it only makes sense that they would kind of make some new positions, put us up on a shelf, and go ahead and make room for these younger employees who were going to be a benefit to the company for much longer than I was for the next 2 to 3 years. And one thing a lot of people may not realize is back when they actually developed the Social Security program was exactly for that reason. It was to give incentives to older people to go ahead and move out of those good paying jobs and give a chance for these younger workers with the families who needed more income, give them an opportunity to go ahead and move up into better paying positions. So it worked out, it was kind of a win-win, because there are a lot of people who really enjoy working and who want to stay working absolutely as long as they can because they enjoy what they do and maybe they're not sure what they'll do in retirement. But for the majority of us, I would say that, we would like, when we reach 60, 65 years old, we want to go ahead and retire. I don't think there's that big a percentage of people who want to work, until they're 70 years old. So I'd like to pause the video for just a minute and ask you if you'd go down into the comments and, hey, if nothing else, let me know where you're from and let me know what stage of retirement you're in. All right, so let's get back to the video. So another statistic that comes into play is 50% of Americans are having to retire before they want to. Yeah, they really are. They're having to retire before they want to, and there's a couple of main reasons. And number one reason is health. People just get to the point where they can't perform the work anymore, especially people who work in labor-intensive jobs. I was pretty fortunate in my latter years. I worked behind a desk, so, it wasn't very physically taxing, but that's kind of a double-edged sword too, because it's not physically taxing, but stressful. You tend not to take care of your health. You tend not to be in good shape. And that's something, the first part of my retirement here that I'm having to work on is, doing a lot of cardio and getting myself back into shape. And being able to play golf a couple, 3 times a week has really been able to, kind of get me kick-started and getting my new health revitalized. And the other big reason is just what we've been talking about, layoffs and corporate downsizing. We saw a lot of the corporate downsizing right after COVID. When we started coming out of COVID, these companies realized that, hey, maybe we don't need as many employees as we have, and they started cutting back in big numbers by the thousands that people were losing their job. So we saw a lot of that going on as well. So what can we do to kind of protect ourselves from this? And I would say probably the number one thing you can do is to set up your retirement plan so that you're retiring earlier than you think you might want to. In other words, if you're thinking, I'm going to go ahead and retire, full retirement age is 66 and a half or 67, make your retirement plan to retire at 60 or 62. And if you need to work longer, or if you want to work longer after that, hey, that's fine. But you've already made kind of your financial obligation for retirement earlier. And that way, if something does come up, if your health fails, if you lose your job, something like that, you've got it covered at an earlier age, or at least you're closer to your goal than you would be if you set that retirement plan up to be at 67. So if you can, try to set up that retirement goal, maybe 5 years earlier than you're really planning to retire. And that way you'll be fully funded when you need the money, or hopefully you will be. Okay, the second thing you can do is keep up with your health. Yeah, and like I mentioned before earlier in the video, it's hard when you're working, you've got all the stress and everything, you got family obligations. It's hard to think about your personal health all the time, but that's something you can really do so as you get older, you're in better health and you can continue to work as long as you want to work. And the other benefit to that is when you retire, you'll be able to enjoy your retirement much more if you're healthy than you would be if you're not. So keep up with your health, stay up with it, get good exercise, do cardio, keep your muscles in good shape, and go to your regular checkups and appointments with your doctor. That's a key. Stay up with all those regular appointments with your doctor. And lastly is stay relevant with your current job position. Yeah, a lot of people as they get older, they start passing up on training and things like that the company may offer for them to keep up with all the latest trends in their job title, which allows them to kind of get behind the 8 ball on where they are professionally. And if you don't stay up with your job professionally and you don't stay relevant, it makes it a lot easier for the company to look at you and say, well, he's getting up there in age and he's not going to be here many more years. And what we used to call it in the refining business anyway, is you became a roadie, which is retired on active duty. Yeah, a roadie. So, don't be that guy. Don't be that guy who just wants to sit in the corner of the office and, just waiting the last 3 to 5 years to retire. You need to stay current with your job and you need to stay relevant and needed. And it'll also help the job feel better. It'll help you feel better about your job and what you're doing. So, hey, I'd like to ask you, if you've enjoyed this video, to go ahead and hit that like button and watch this video next.